All right, so in this demo, I'm going to show how to deploy the web app to AWS. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a role in IAM. So I go to IAM, and let me go to roles, create role. So what a role is basically an identity that you can assign to an AWS resource. In this case, we're going to assign it to our Node.js EC2 instance. So trusted identity type, I'm going to do AWS service. And the service, I'm going to pick EC2. Looks good, hit next. I'm not going to add any permissions to it. Role name, I'll give it server underscore role. And that looks good. Create role. Next thing what I'm going to do is create the S3 bucket, which is where we're going to store the static front-end files for the application. So think like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, any images. So let me go to S3, create a bucket. General purpose, I'm going to give it a name. This name has to be unique across all AWS accounts, so I have to make sure it's unique. So I'm going to call it server dot, I'll call it static dot front end dot, and then I'm going to give it a bunch of random characters just to make sure it's unique and no one else has taken it before. And I'm going to turn off the block all public network access because we're going to make these accessible from the internet. Okay, I acknowledge this is all right. And the rest of it looks good. Create bucket. Oh, it name's gotta be shorter. Okay, there we go. It's created. All right. So next thing what we're gonna do is I'm gonna set up the permissions on the bucket and also set it up for for static website hosting. So I'm gonna click on the bucket, static.frontend. I'm gonna go to properties. If I scroll down to the bottom, there's static website hosting, and I'm gonna enable this. Hit enable. Index document, I'm going to say index.html, and error document, I'm going to say 404.html, and that looks good. And if I scroll down, now it has a static website endpoint. Next, I'm going to change the bucket policy to give some permissions to the bucket. So I'm going to click edit. Okay, so here I am. I can edit the bucket policy. So I actually wrote it out already, so I'm going to paste it in. But it's this JSON that describes the permissions on the bucket. So I'm going to allow, this one allows everything to get object or read from the bucket. And this one's going to allow the role I just created to put objects in the cats directory. So to write to the cats directory. So that looks good to me. I'm going to hit save changes. And there we go. So now we could successfully set up the S3 bucket. Okay, now that the bucket's up, I'm going to set up the CloudFront CDN so users can get low latency access to the static files. So first I'm going to copy the static website endpoint. I'm going to CloudFront, create distribution. Distribution name, I'm going to call it front end. Hit next. Origin type other, then paste in the origin. Make sure to get rid of http://. So it's just the domain name. Hit next. To enable security protections. Next. Looks good. Create distribution. And now it's creating. While that's creating, I'm going to start creating my VPC. So it's going to be my private network. So I click on VPC. Create VPC. I'm going to hit VPC only. Name it. We'll call it web app. And then for the CIDR block, I'm going to give it 10.10.0.0/24. And looks good. Create VPC. There we go. Next, I'm going to create some subnets for this VPC. So I'm going to split it up into a few different subnets. Let me go to subnets and create subnet. Select my VPC for web app. I'm going to call this DMZ subnet. So the DMZ is the part of your network that is going to be exposed to the internet. So this is where the Node.js application is going to sit because users are going to be able to reach it from the internet. No preference. I'll select availability zone A, and then for the CIDR block, yep, that's the VPC CIDR block, and then for the subnet CIDR block, I'm going to do 10.0, where that 10.0.0/26, and it looks good. I'm going to create a couple more subnets, same VPC. These next two subnets are going to be for the RDS database. It needs two subnets and two different availability zones. So I'm going to call this one DB subnet A, availability zone A, and then for the CIDR range, I'm going to do 10.0.0.64/26 and create subnet. There we go. And I'm going to create one last subnet, same VPC, subnet name DMZ DB subnet B, availability zone B, and then this one's range is going to be 10.0.0.128/26. Create subnet. And there we go, there's the subnets. Now that the subnets are created, I'm going to create an internet gateway so that traffic can come in and out of the DMZ subnet. So I click on internet gateways, create internet gateways. I'm going to call this web app IGW for internet gateway. And there we go, create internet gateway. And now I'm going to attach it to the VPC. So I select web app VPC and I attach it. And there we go. Next thing, I'm going to set up a route to the internet for the DMZ subnet. So I click on route tables, click on the one for my web app VPC, and then I'm going to edit routes. I'm going to add a route, and this destination is going to go o.o.o.o//o, and that'll go to any internet endpoints. And the target is going to be internet gateway, and I'm going to select my web app internet gateway right here. And there we go. So now there's connectivity to and from the internet. Next, I need to create a couple of security groups. What security groups are basically network firewalls that let you control both inbound and outbound traffic to your AWS resources. So you can restrict it on specific ports, protocols, and also sources and destinations. So I'm going to go down to security groups, create security group. The first one I'm going to create is going to be my DMZ security group. So for my Node.js application server, so I'm going to say DMZ_SG. Give it the same description. Make sure to select the web app VPC. And then here I'm going to set my inbound rules. So the first inbound rule is going to be for HTTP. My web application server is actually listed on port 3000. So I need to enable 3000 inbound. And the source is going to be 0.0.0.0/0, and that means anyone anywhere on the internet can reach out to the server 3000. I'm also going to add another rule for SSH. So I scroll down, I can pick SSH. I also want this to be from anywhere. I need SSH to be able to remote into the server and install Node.js, the application, and start running it, configuring it. Next, we're going to outbound rules. It gives me a default outbound rule for all traffic to anywhere, which I actually want. I want my Node application server to be like actual grab on Node.js and be able to install it from the internet. So there we go, create security group. I'm also going to create another security group for my database. So I go back to security groups, create security group. This one I'm going to call DB_SG. Give the same description, pick the web app VPC, and now I'm going to set my inbound and outbound rules. So I'm going to lock this down a bit more. So I'm going to give it one inbound rule on port 1521. That is the Oracle DB's port. And the source, I'm going to give it If I scroll down, I can pick the DMZ security group, DMZ_SG. So I can limit it just to my Node application server. And then for outbound rules, I'm actually not going to allow any outbound. I don't want my database, for whatever reason, it shouldn't be reaching out, but I don't want it to be able to. So I'm going to give it no outbound. It doesn't need it. And create security group. And there we go. Now I have my security group set up. One last thing I forgot to do is associate my subnets with the route tables. So if I go to route tables, if you remember, I created a DB route table and go to actions and edit subnet associations. And I can pick my DB subnets and then select those and save associations. And there we go. All right, now that I have my networking set up, I'm going to actually go and deploy my database. So I'm going to search for RDS. Click on subnet groups. I need to create this something called a subnet group, which is just the subnet it's going to deploy to. So I'm going to call it DB subnet group. Give it the same description. Choose my web app VPC. Availability zones, I'm going to pick A and B. And then I'm going to pick for the subnets, I'm going to do my DB subnet B and my DB subnet A. I don't want it to deploy to the TMZ subnet. So just those two, and hit create. And I got to create the subnet groups. So now I can go and actually create my database. So I'm going to hit create database, standard create, engine type, I'm going to select Oracle DB. For edition, I'm going to pick Oracle Standard Edition 2. And then for the license, you can either bring your own license if you already bought a license from Oracle, or you can select license included, and this will bake the cost of the licenses into your hourly cost for your database. So I'm going to pick license included because I don't already have one. Go to templates. I'm going to select dev test. DB instance identifier. I want to call it cat DB. Master username. I'm going to pick admin underscore user. And then for the password, you could either have the password be managed by AWS Secrets Manager, which will automatically rotate the keys for you, which would come in handy. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to do self-manage and then enter in a password. So I'm going to say admin underscore pass. Not a great password, but it works for this demo. Make sure I got that right. There we go. Then for the instance configuration, this tells you how many vCPUs in memory the database gets. So that can impact your performance a lot and also impacts your costs a lot. I'm going to pick the smallest one I have right here, which is db.m5.large. And then for storage, I'm going to pick general purpose, and I'm going to give it the minimum, which is 20 gigabytes. Scroll down. Connectivity, this is where I choose my networking. I want to pick my web app VPC. I want to pick my DB subnet group, the one I just created. Select no public access. I don't want this accessible from the internet. And then for security group, I'm going to choose existing, get rid of default, and select my DB security group. I scroll down, keep going, and this looks good. It actually gives me an estimate for the monthly cost, so it looks like it's going to cost me $322 a month. I'm going to hit create database. Change password, I gave it a admin underscore pass. Yeah. And now it's creating. Okay, so while the database is deploying, I can go and set up my EC2 instance, which is the server that will host my Node.js application. So I'm going to go to EC2 right here. Actually, first I need to create a key pair, SSH key pair. I need to upload my own. So I'm going to go to key pairs, actions, import key pair. I'm going to call this web app key pair. I'm going to browse and upload the public key file that's on my computer. So if I go to my home directory, if I go to .ssh, here it is id underscore say.pub. There we go. And then import key pair. So now that's there. I can go and actually create the instance. So launch instances. I'm going to call it web app server. Here I can choose my base image. This determines what operating system it's going to boot up with. So I can choose Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE, Debian, and so on and so forth. So there's a wide variety of images to choose from. I'm going to choose Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 10. Scroll down. Here's the instance type. This is the SKU, which determines kind of how much it costs to run your VM, as well as the specs. So as the specs go up, the hourly costs will go up. So I'm gonna pick this T2.micro. It gives me one vCPU, 1 GB of memory, um, and the pricing for RHEL is 0.026 cents an hour. And you can see it depends on the operating system. So, for example, for SUSE, it's 0.0116. So it really depends on whoever's selling the operating system and their licensing scheme. If I compare that to a larger one, like let's say T2.2x large, that gives me 8 vCPUs and 32 gigabytes of memory, and that costs me 0.38 cents and yeah, 0.38 38 cents an hour. um, so I'm going to choose T2.micro, and then I'm going to pick the key pair I just created, which is web app key pair. Networking settings, I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to pick my web app VPC. For the subnet, I'm going to make sure to select the DMZ subnet. Auto assign public IP, I want to say yes. Security group, which is our firewall, I want to select from the existing one. And I have my DMZ security group. Storage, I'll keep the same. And then in details, I want to select my IAM instance profile, and this will select the role and the permissions it gets. So I want to select the one I just created, which is server underscore role. And the rest of the options should be fine. So now I hit launch instance. And there we go. So now the instance is starting up. All right, so my instance started up, so I can actually remote into it and start configuring it, install Node.js in the actual application. So I'm going to copy this public IPv4 address. I'm going to head over to VS Code. And I have a terminal right here. I'm just going to use this to SSH into it. So I'm going to say SSH EC2-user at and paste in the IP address. It's going to say, do you trust this? I say yes. And here I am. Now I'm in the actual Linux server. So if I say, who am I? I'm EC2 user. So I'm on a server sitting on the AWS cloud. So now I'm going to actually configure the operating system, install the software. So I'm going to start with installing git and firewall d. DNF install git firewall d-y. I need a sudo for that. Sudo DNF install. There we go. Next, I'm going to enable the firewall service. So sudo system ctl enable firewall d. And I'm going to also make sure that it's set to start up on. So sudo system ctl start firewall d. Next, I'm going to use the firewall D to expose port 3000 so that it opens on the IP tables. So if I do sudo firewall -cmd -s zone equals public add port equals 3000 / TCP -- permanent success, and I'm going to restart the firewall. Sudo firewall -cmd -- reload. Success. There we go. Next, I'm going to actually install Node.js. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to look up how to install. And so there's actually commands straight from Node.js that I'm just going to run to get it installed. So I'm going to copy this and put it in my terminal one by one. There we go. Here we go, nvm install version 22. we go. And we do node-s version and npm-s version. There we go. Next thing I'm going to install is an npm module globally called Forever. What it's going to do is, if you run an application using Forever, it's going to make sure it keeps on running, even if it crashes. So if it crashes, it'll just restart the application, which is good for a server. We want minimal downtime. So I'm going to say npm install forever-g for global. There you go, it got installed. And now I'm going to actually go and clone my Git repository to clone the code. So git clone https://github.com/sethfranklin/cat upload.git. I go through an ls, it's right there. I'm going to cd into it. I'm also going to cd into the Node.js folder. So this has all my Node.js application right here. So I can do an npm install. Make sure to install everything into the node modules folder. And there we go. There's some node modules folder there now. Okay, so next I got to set up my .env file, which is environment variable specific to this deployment of the application that my Node.js application will read in. So I actually have a preset one already set up. So it's got things like what port to listen to on the Oracle username, password, connection string, then the AWS bucket that it's going to push files to. So first, the only things I got to fill out are the Oracle string and the bucket name. So I can do that right now. So for the connection string, if I go to RDS, I select my database, .db, and I copy this endpoint. This is the domain name for it, so I'll copy it there. And it's going to be on port 1521, and the default service name is ORCL. So that's my connection string. Then for the bucket name, I can also pick that out from S3. So let me go copy the bucket name. Here we go. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put it into my .env file on the actual server I'm on. So I say vi.env, which is my text editor. So I put it in here, and I'm going to hit save. So I do lssla, and now .env is right there. So now my Node.js has my application has some configuration set up. So now the last thing to do is to actually run the application. So I'm going to say forever start source/index.js. And there we go. Now it's running. Now for a quick sniff test, I'll do like what do you call it? A Postman get call to it to see if it'll work. So I actually have the IP address set up right here. So it's the IP address :3000/API/cats. It's doing get. So I hit send, and there we go. It's giving me a what do you call it? An empty array, and it gives me 200 OK. So I've successfully deployed the backend to AWS. Last thing to do is actually deploy the front end to S3, which I haven't done yet. So to deploy the static files to S3, I first got to exit out of my EC2 instance. So I exit out. Now I'm back on my local laptop. And then I'm going to push the files up, but first I'm going to make a little change to one of the JavaScript files. So I got to set the API domain it's trying to get to. So I'm gonna have to copy paste the IP address. Luckily for me, I think I put that in Postman. So let me check out Postman. Yeah, it's right here. Copy everything. Go back and make sure this is HTTP :// IP address on port 3000. And that looks good to me. So now I'm going to sync it up. So there's a command for that. So it's AWS S3 sync. And then I got to specify the directory for my local files for my static files that I want to push up. So it's going to be node.js/static, and it says my JavaScript and HTML files. AWS S3 sync static node.js/static. I'm going to specify the S3 bucket name. So I'm going to copy this from S3. It's right here. I'm going to say exclude cat/star. So I won't push anything in the cat's images directory because my application will be pushing that for me. And there we go. I ran it and it synced it up. So it uploaded the 404.html, main.js, and index.html. So now my front end is uploaded up to the cloud. So now I can actually go try it out. All right, so to get to my application, I got to figure out my CDN's domain name. So I'm going to go to CloudFront, select right here, select my distribution, then copy the distribution's domain name, paste a new tab, and then one thing I'm going to change it from HTTPS to just HTTP. And there we go. So let me try it. Here's cat upload. So let me try uploading a cat. So Seth, age 24, cat image, cat.png, and upload cat. And there we go. So it uploaded. So I can refresh it as many times as I want, and it's still there. So it persisted. I'll put another one in. So we'll say Alex, age 23, cat image, cat2, upload cat. And there we go. So now our application is deployed to the cloud platform. And just as a little sniff test, I can show you. So if I go to S3, I select my bucket, the front end. So it has the HTML and JavaScript, but in the cats folder, it actually has the PNG files that my application uploaded to it. So the images are stored within S3 and they're behind a CDN, so you get low latency access to them. So that's about it for this demo.